Perfect. I guess I'll just kick things off now. And yeah, the meeting is being recorded as well, so that's all good. Firstly, I want to give a thanks to Brian for coordinating this and giving me the opportunity to come on and speak to you all. So thank you very much for arranging, Brian. By way of introduction, my name is Laith, and I head up the UK side of Kula's sales operation. What that means is I'm based in the UK, but I work globally, and you could probably tell I was based in the UK based on the very strong British accent coming through. I've been at Kula for coming on to 2 years now, and it feels like a lot longer than that, but I say that in a good way. It's very fast paced, so everything's going well. In terms of what we do at Kula, you can imagine Kula as an AI sales team performing all of the tasks that you would expect from a high quality sales team, except without the time and more importantly, the cost associated with building out a fully dedicated sales function. We were actually initially developed specifically tailored to the legal sector. And so, what I mean by that is we've taken into consideration the various solicitation regulations and all of the sort of compliance aspect when it comes to soliciting. And what we do is targeted email outreach. The way it works is we take a description of what we call your ICP or your ideal client profile, things like where they're located, the industries they're in, how big the organizations are, etc. And we use that information to inform the way that we prospect against our database of over 200 million contacts. We initiate first contact, warm and nurture leads up until they're at a stage ready to engage in your services, at which point we pass that across to you. I appreciate it's quite abstract how all that works, but does anybody have any questions before I sort of run you through the platform? I will take silence as no questions and kick things off. Let me share my screen. Brian, would it be possible to get screen sharing?
Yeah, one sec.
Perfect.
And just as context, it is interesting. Lath and I randomly, I kind of forget how we got introduced, but maybe you had reached out, or I think it was a LinkedIn thing. But even prior to us getting in contact, we ran a business development, like HeyCounsel ran a business development panel with a couple lawyers, and one of the lawyers, Alex Daniels, uses Kula and actually spoke very highly of it. So I knew what Kula was before we even started talking. I had never done outbound type, targeted outreach as a solo practitioner. But it's an interesting thing, and I figured it would be really cool for the community to see. So that's why we got in contact. I figured I'd just give that context as to
Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. Cool. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, but I'm going to be very careful that I share the right screen here. So just going to be doubly sure that I make sure I'm sharing everything that should be shared. Cool. And I'll just essentially just walk you through what we do and how we do it. And at any point, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to call out. If you interrupt me, talk all over me, I won't take any offense. I promise. Can everybody see my screen? Cool. So this is the Kula web app. This is actually one of our personal internal accounts. So this isn't a dummy or demo account that I'm using for the purpose of this call. This is actually an account that we use ourselves every single day for our own business development. We're drinking the Kool-Aid, as it were. We have so much faith in our platform that this is all we do from a business development perspective. We're not running any ads. Our SEO is frankly terrible, but that's fine because we're able to use the platform to generate ourselves a steady stream of leads. And it's part of the reason why I am so busy every single day. The app is super simple. It's 3 sections. We've got campaigns, the positive conversations generated from these campaigns, and then we've got statistics. Right now, we're looking at conversations. So these are all real people that either myself or a colleague have spoken to or will be speaking with. And you can see all of this positive intent coming back in just today alone. One really cool example I want to show you is Lee here. This type of response is not an atypical response. We get this kind of response very often. You can see Lee here has said, for what it's worth, you're quite literally the first cold call email I've ever responded to. People often hear cold outreach and they think robotic, generic spam. This is not what we're doing. We're generating really good messaging and delivering it to a targeted audience so that they actually resonate with the services you're offering and ultimately want to jump in a call with you. So what I do here is I'll click on the conversation. Kula is going to show me the full chain of communication between Kula and Lee from the initial message that we delivered on the 25th of May, and then Lee's response, as well as this sort of back and forth to ultimately push Lee down our sales cycle. This is what we would consider positive intent to engage. You know, for what it's worth, you're quite literally the first call email. I'm interested. I'm happy to pay for services. Happy to have a demo. Here's my calendar link. There's like 3 or 4 indications that Lee really wants to speak to us, which is exactly what we're looking for. This is one half of what we consider a qualified lead. This individual has to be expressing positive interest, but they also have to match the type of company that we'd be willing to work with. It's all well and good getting this type of response, but if they're not a fit in terms of your target audience, then there's no use here. And the way that I can validate that is through an overview. So I can see exactly who I'm going to speak to, follow their relevant website, their LinkedIn, and I can validate who this individual is. In our case, professional services is our bread and butter. So this is a perfect fit. And not only that, but we're right at the sort of founder decision maker level. So this is perfect. As the user, I've then gone in and rated this lead. I've rated Lee 5 stars. This trains our AI to go off and find more leads like Lee. Think Netflix rating system. You know, I like this, show me more. If we were to rate Lee 1 star, it would do the exact opposite. So this is a lead, but how do we generate these leads and how would we generate leads for you? It's through what we call a campaign. So we would get you set up with your own Kula account, and we would then generate a series of campaigns in draft mode for your final review and approval. Using this one as an example, a campaign is just a combination of who we're going to target and the messaging that we're going to target them with. And using just simple natural language of your target audience, Kula is able to generate an audience of contacts who are going to receive outreach. So here we can use things like size of organization, where they're located, the industry that they operate in. We can also use things like particular job roles or seniority levels within the organization, so we can really hone in on your ideal client base. At any point, you can come in and update this targeting, hit the update targeting button, and then a new audience will be generated. So these are contacts from our database that match your criteria. These individuals will be contacted should we start this campaign, but by no means is this an exhaustive list. As the campaign runs, more and more contacts are going to be funneled in to receive this messaging. So here we've got an AI-generated subject line and then multiple messages in sequence. These messages would be drafted on your behalf, informed by things like your website, your LinkedIn, and historically successful Kula campaigns. So we can ensure that you're best placed with some high converting and relevant copy. Now, as good as AI is, and it's getting better every single day, it's very important that you have final oversight and final approval over this messaging. So you can always come down, add new messages, delete messages, or edit to make sure that what's going to go out exactly aligns with your value proposition, has the same sort of brand voice. And again, it's important that you have control over this because ultimately this is going to go out on your behalf, representing your firms. Once you're happy, you simply scroll up, you start the campaign, and that's basically it. Kula is now going to go off, find the relevant individuals, and deliver this directly into their inbox. Now, one thing I want to highlight at this stage, which is quite crucial, the people that we're reaching out to, they don't know that Kula exists. They feel like they're speaking directly to you, And the way that we achieve that is by acquiring a series of new mailboxes on your behalf. So we set up between 5 and 10 new mailboxes, which very closely mirror your own emails to allow us to deliver this outreach as if we were you, but it's actually our AI doing the outreach. We set all of that up on our end. We handle the sort of domain acquisition, technical infrastructure setup. We also warm up those domains and we have proprietary deliverability testing to ensure that these messages that we deliver actually land at the intended recipient and into their inbox rather than going into spam and just going into the void. What Kula then does is handle basic replies on your behalf. So for example, hey, where are you located? That's a really simple reply that Kula can answer for you. You know, I'm based in New York or Atlanta or wherever you may be. And, you know, we can find that information from your LinkedIn, from your company website, etc. One other thing that Kula does, which is really, really powerful, is what we call behavioral analysis, which leads to dynamic cadence modulation. Those are probably words that mean nothing to you. It's a whole bunch of jargon, really. But I'm going to use my friend Stuart here to indicate what that means. And essentially, we're learning from the reply habits of everybody that all of our Kula users are reaching out to and using their reply data to inform when we should deliver messaging to actually drive a higher level of conversion. And that's demonstrated here. So first message was delivered on the 30th of July at 10 a.m. A typical kind of cadence length, if you've done any sort of outbound, is maybe 1 to 2 weeks between messages. In this case, we didn't hear back, but the next message only went out a few days later, this time at 8 a.m. The reason for that short cadence and earlier time of delivery is we ran cohort analysis on people similar to Stuart, looked at when they were replying, and then it suggested that sending a message earlier in the day actually has a meaningful impact. And you can see that Stuart actually responds within half an hour. So evidence that this actually has an impact in getting people to reply. Now, this isn't the best response, but it's a response nonetheless. If you were to get this response, you would have to go in, make a note in your calendar, remember to follow up, find the context in your undoubtedly super busy inboxes, and it's essentially a chore for you to do in the future. With Kula, like any good salesperson, we read this, make a note in its diary, and then it'll automatically follow up with the prospect at the appropriate time. In this case, the day after they've requested. This message here, AI drafted, but approved by somebody on the Kula team. Even when we handle basic replies on your behalf, we still have a guided human in the loop to make sure that this message makes sense in the context of the wider conversation. And it also ties back into that reputational piece. We don't think that AI is at the stage where we can let it do whatever it wants without having a human in the loop in some capacity. As soon as the prospect begins indicating a positive intent to engage, that's the point at which you're notified to come into the app and respond directly from the platform here. One other thing I want to highlight, which is quite important, is the ability to exclude people from receiving outreach. So you've already got companies and individuals that you work with. You don't want them receiving Kula outreach, can be quite embarrassing. You can come in here, add a particular email, company-wide domain, or you can upload lists. And in that way, we can ensure that nobody on this list receives any outreach through Kula. And that's basically the whole platform. It's very lightweight, it's simple, easy to use, designed to be a plug and play sort of top of funnel solution. You come in, you turn some campaigns on. The next interaction you have with Kula are leads being delivered directly to your inbox. I appreciate there's quite a lot of information, quite quickly as well. Does anybody have any questions? I couldn't have done that good of a job. Somebody must have questions.
I have a couple, but I'll let
Mhm.
we already talked, so I'll let
Mhm.
anyone who have the question top of mind jump in, and if not, I can ask a few.
Sure.
I'll jump in with mine if people
Mhm.
have them, they can pop in. So curious, you know, you say it's pretty plug and play. What is the setup process like? How long does it take? What do you need from the lawyer who's getting set up with you all?
Yeah, perfect. Great question. So really all we need to get things set up is a description of your like ideal client base, where they are, what industry they're in, how big the organization is, as well as a little bit of information on the value proposition you want put forward to these individuals. Kula will then set up the account, set up all the campaigns, and the turnaround time is quite quick. So we can get people onboarded in 24 hours. So same time tomorrow with that information, you'll be logging into your account. Next steps, typically, we look to schedule an onboarding call, which is about 30 minutes. And in that call, a member of my team will run you through your account, run you through your campaigns, ensure that everything is aligned, and then you kick them off. And I guess kind of naturally we can flow into the commercial model. Obviously, this has a cost associated with it, as much as we would like to give it completely for free. But we do actually initially start it out completely free with 3 free leads. So Kula is not a subscription service. You only pay when we deliver a lead. So it's 3 leads, completely free to get started. There's no hidden fees, no setup costs, nothing. We will give you that value up front because we're so confident in what we're building. After that, it's $150 per lead that we deliver. And I'm going to preempt a few questions that I typically get here. The first is, how are we defining what a lead is? It's an individual matching or tightly aligning with your target criteria, expressing positive interest and positive intent to engage in your services. So it could be, hey, I love this. Let's jump on a call. Hey, can you help me with this particular use case? Hey, can you give me a call on this number? That kind of intent. There's no minimum commitment, so you're free to walk away at any time. If you start using Kula today, you can stop tomorrow and walk away. I was about to say no questions asked, but we probably will have a few questions just to see why it wasn't a fit for you. People often hear pay per lead and their mind goes to like open-ended cost. Hey, Lath, what if you send us 100 leads in a week? I don't want to spend that much, nor can I handle that volume. We have a budget feature baked into the app so you can control how many leads are delivered to you every single month. We'll never exceed that budget without your explicit permission. And we also, just to be completely transparent, what we're doing here is not like 100%. Not every single lead we give you will be exactly on the mark every single time. We're aware of that. I want to make you aware of that from the outset. We have a refund system in the app. So we pass a lead across to you. For whatever reason, it doesn't align with the target criteria that you've set out. You can come in, request a refund for that. We will then credit you a free lead going forward. We do that because you don't have a contract that you're like tied to the platform with. We're super motivated to only having you pay for things that are actually valuable so that you're coming back and using Kula as your steady stream of sort of business development. That was a very long-winded answer to your question, Brian. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent.
No, it's great. I was going to ask about the economic model. I remember you touching on that, and that makes sense. It's a lot of you proving your value, which I think us lawyers are very familiar with. So I think that's cool. I had a question that popped up in my head, but now I forgot it. So I don't know, Jessica, if you have a question because you popped on the screen. No,
No, I
okay.
just came to say hi. I thought you meant like a live face. I didn't hear the beginning. I just joined.
Amazing.
I had a question, Laith. I mean, the tech seems really interesting, but I've always associated this type of email campaigns and reach out with like types of like plaintiff side law, like people looking for employment law, personal injury, that type of work. I've never really seen it for like corporate defense type work. What type of results are you getting? Just because I'm not like, I don't want to say skeptical, but I'm curious what type of response you get for that type of outreach.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And funnily enough, John, we really don't work at all with personal injury lawyers. So our bread and butter is that sort of commercial corporate, working with lawyers from like, startup to exit, patent, like transactional work, M&A. That's really where we fit in super well. It's that B2B aspect. Part of that is down to the compliance aspect, like ambulance chasers is not a thing that's allowed, nor do we have that data anyway. In terms of data and results, what I can say is we work with over 150 lawyers globally. A lot of that is in the US. There's a big market for it. And it's precisely for that reason that you sort of raised. You haven't seen this in that space of law, in those legal areas and those practice areas. And it's precisely why we're in that market, because we are like the dominant figure. No one else is going to be running outreach in those spaces. So you really do distinguish yourself. In terms of actual like numbers to give you, we get between a 1 and 10% human reply rate to our outreach. So excluding automated replies, 1 to 10%. It really comes down to your personal brand and how closely and how well aligned that brand is with the individual that is going to be responding to the outreach. In terms of conversion rates, it's quite hard to nail down a specific figure for you because it does vary. And if you weren't skeptical, I would be concerned, because in the legal space, a lot of people have their concerns. They're like, I don't see this working for us. It's precisely why we have that completely free trial. We'll deliver those 3 leads at the start. If it doesn't work, you can walk away, but we're so confident it will. That's why we're willing to sort of put our money where our mouth is and give you that upfront, and show you that in this space, it's precisely because no one else is doing it that you stand out and that you have that competitive edge.
Leif, are there any signals that you look for when you're coming up with, I guess, the initial targets beyond alignment in terms of industry and, size of company, stage? Are there other signals that you look for? Is there data that's proprietary to Kula that you have that might give the lawyers who are reaching out an edge? And I also have one technical question, which I'll lump in here, which is when you do the outreach, it comes from, like, if it was my email, it would come from Brian or B Sharer at Scale Firm, or it would come from my email, right? Or is it a different email that you're warming up for it?
Yeah, that's a great couple questions. I'll ask them backwards because the first answer is going to be a lot quicker than the second answer. So what we'll do is, if your domain, let's say, was scalefirm.com, we would acquire a series of domains very similar to that. For example, tryscalefirm.com, and we would then set up mailboxes at that new domain. We do that to completely separate the outreach from potentially tarnishing the reputation of your actual domain. So if you were to send an email yourself, no matter what we do, your emails will always reach their intended recipient. And it also means that we can handle all of the technical setup, which is not something that you want to concern yourself with. You only want to focus on actual leads and meaningful conversations. In terms of where our edge is when it comes to the data, really it's the way we amalgamate multiple different data sources together. So publicly available data, things like LinkedIn, ZoomInfo, Apollo, etc. And then private vendors that we've acquired data from. We then amalgamate, sanitize, and validate all of that data. And then the sort of underpinning theme across all of those data sources are that they're fully compliant, which is obviously a concern when it comes to running outreach in the legal space. If somebody responds and says, hey, where did you get my data from? We point them to the location and instruct them as well how they can remove their data from these sources so that they don't receive any outreach going forward. The other piece where we really get our edge is in that behavioral analysis. No one else is gathering that reply data, nor are they leveraging it in the same way that we are. And that was sort of outlined through that example of Stuart, but there are like countless other examples where we land in the inbox of someone at just somehow, almost as if by magic, at the perfect time for them to be like, hey, you know what, I was actually looking for this service now, even though there's no way that we could have known that other than by looking at all of the replies that are coming back in and using that reply data in whatever form to like leverage and ultimately convert at a higher rate than just doing traditional sort of outbound. One thing just sort of to build on my previous answer there, that I would personally say, I mean, I've not got that much space in the legal sector. I've spoken to thousands of lawyers, so I guess that's as close as I get. But my understanding and from what I've seen, the legal business is really based on relationships. And outbound in this way actually leans into that reality. Um, it's the perfect way to build those relationships with the right people because you're choosing who you're targeting, as opposed to, for example, running ads where you can sort of control who you're going to be putting those ads in front of, but who actually comes back and who comes through inbound marketing, it's completely random. And more often than not, you have people who come in who are just wasting your time. So if you've ever done ads before, at least in our experience, that the ROI just really hasn't been there. And the relationships that you're going to build through the Kula outreach are one-to-one. And this means that, you know, there isn't this race to the bottom on price, like with, for example, referral services, where one lead is up for grabs by anyone and everybody's going to be undercutting. They're responding to your email because they resonate with the services that you're providing, with the brand that they see. And so you can really build up those meaningful relationships. And personally, I've seen a lot of big deals actually get closed through outreach that was initially just, you know, an email shot in the dark, as it were.
What type of coaching do you all do in terms of the right messaging? Because everyone here on this call is probably a novice when it comes to outbound, but there is a science behind it that I'm very aware of and have not studied anything about. So I'm curious, like, I'm sure you do, like, level up all of the lawyers who use your service by giving them the right templates and coaching them through outbound.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another great question. So what we do, firstly, as standard, all of the outreach that all of the messaging that we craft is leveraging historically successful Kula campaigns. We know what works and we give you that framework, whether it's, you know, hey, this month, this type of message is getting a way higher conversion rate than all the others. So there's that just in the initial template itself. On these onboarding calls as well, we've got a whole bunch of copywriting experts, we'll call them. I'll say that quite modestly. We know what works. We know where the responses lie. We know that there's a fine line between coming across super salesy and actually presenting value and putting forward your value proposition in a clear way. Everybody gets their own dedicated customer success manager, and it's their job to schedule sort of check-ins every 4 to 6 weeks, review the campaigns, review the responses that are coming back in, work on copy, work on targeting to ensure that the leads you're getting actually align with who you're looking to do business with. And we really pride ourselves on having that sort of, you know, white glove approach, really working with you to make sure that the messaging is up to standard, it is converting. And again, it always ties back into that free trial that we've got at the start. We're confident it does work, and it's exactly why, you know, over 150 lawyers are using us, and, you know, more and more coming through every single day, to make the most of that offering. I mean, at worst, the worst case is it doesn't work, and you've not lost any money because we're not asking for, you know, thousands and thousands to even set up the platform, which a lot of, you know, agencies or competitors will lock you in for contract of that nature.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will open it up a little for anyone else to ask a question, and then if there are no questions, maybe, I don't know if you have other stuff to go over, or maybe we just give people the time back. I know we got a full hour, which is not necessary most of the time, but sometimes we block it off anyways. If people want to sign up for the free trial, what do they do?
Yeah, I mean, so there's really one way to do it. And at this stage, we don't just let anybody sign up. We on our end ensure that there's a fit as well in terms of who you're looking to get into contact with. My recommendation would be, if you're keen to give that free trial a go, you can drop me an email. I will pop that email into the Zoom chat here. It should be there, Laith, my first name, at joinkula.io. If anybody is looking to take advantage of that completely free trial, I'm going to say the word free about 100 more times because people think that there is a hidden cost. There's no hidden fees. There's no setup cost, no onboarding fee, no fee to acquire the domains. We will really give you 3 leads at no cost. If you just drop me a line, we can discuss next steps, get you booked in for an onboarding call, get all the relevant information we need. And then, the turnaround time, like I said, can be as quick as 24 hours, as long as however long you wanna wait to see if there's a fit here. But yeah, I've got nothing else to say on my side. Don't want to rehash everything I've already gone over. My email is there for anybody who's interested. You can also just go to our website. There's like a self-serve option. It is less white glove. I get the impression that a lot of people here would prefer a more like hands-on tailored approach because there is that sort of hesitancy. Completely understand that. It's precisely why we have that. And I would actually encourage people to come sort of through that more like formal onboarding call approach. Really, you get that peace of mind that what's going to go out exactly aligns. You get best practices, etc. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, Brian. Thank you very much for coordinating this. It's been lovely to meet everyone.
Thanks so much. This is great. And I will also repost your email and your contact information in our Slack group. But and then this recording will be live in our resource bank for others. And yeah, I'll keep you posted. But thanks so much for doing this. I think the tech is great. I think the approach is cool, and I'm excited to both give it a go and see if there are others who do it as well. So appreciate Laith.
No, amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I like I said 100 times, it's completely free to start. And of course I would say this because I'm at the company, but I would really give it a go. Often you'll be surprised what we're able to do. If anybody wants like case studies or testimonials from happy existing clients, just drop me a line. More than happy to put you in contact with people who've been using us and successfully at that, as well as any case studies. Or if you just want to pick my brain on some specifics as to how the platform works, you've got my email. Please feel free to reach out.
Cool. All right. Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
All right. See y'all.
Amazing. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.